Talk about the Kellen Moore decision and moving on from Kellen Moore.
Well, of course, we're so appreciative of Kellen. When I think of football and I think of his life and what a player he was, and then evolved into a player for us and then coaching. And so that's kind of gives you the feeling of, well, life moves on. When you look at it, he's done outstanding. When Mike came in, I was pleasantly pleased when Mike said, well, one thing I want to ask to do is keep Kellen Moore. I didn't ask him to keep Kellen Moore. He wanted to keep Kellen Moore. And that's worked beautifully. We all know the synergies there between him and Dak. And I think it has worked and worked well. This is an opportunity, though, for Mike and us to use other skill sets that we have, other really assets we have in Mike's background, his experience running offensive, calling plays. It's the kind of thing that had I worked this out with Mike coming in, I wouldn't have been as assured as I feel now, because he knows our personnel even more so. He knows kind of what they've been doing, and he can meld that into his any nuances of his offensive system that he wants to. I love what's happening.
So you're more comfortable with Mike calling the plays?
Well, I'm more comfortable I'm comfortable at this time because of how it's evolved.
Right.
I'm more comfortable than I would have been had he started calling the plays right when he came in as head coach. I've always viewed him, rather than as a walk-around coach, I viewed him as a coach that could coach the offensive side of the ball.
Oh, the offense
Dan
changed
Quinn
it all?
gives us a great advantage here because of his proven ability and the fact that we can really count and put a lot on what he's bringing to the table for the team as well as the defense. To me, this is one of the best shapes that, in my experience, that I've been in coaching.
You kept Kellen partly because y'all wanted to make Dak comfortable. Does Dak need to get out of his comfort zone now? You want a new voice in his ear, a new direction with the offense?
Well, that's an easy one to go to, but what really is, it's a great way to now expand Dak's, let him have the ability to take directly what Mike can give him.
Okay.
As a coordinator. He'd probably be the first to tell you there are going to be some nuances there that are new ground for him as well. But my point is, I think this is just taking advantage of our situation. Okay. We happen to have two head coaches now, with one, of course, Mike, now able to zero completely in on running the offense, calling the plays, and coordinating all of the offensive blocking and the receiving and the tight ends. Mike can be right in the middle of it because he's drawing the plays up and he's calling them in the game. What this really does for us is maximize the abilities of what we have on this coaching staff. When you think about Dan Quinn and you think about Mike, it's not at all about what Kellen isn't. Okay. Or wasn't. It's not at all about that. For Kellen, it's onward and upward. For us, it's onward and upward. I get mused when people talk about, well, this is a little bit of the same old in reference to my 30-something years. Right. If you had any idea how many times I've changed in 30 years, right. If you have any idea how many different directions I've gone in 30 years, right. Both personnel as well as our coaching. Right. And one of the things that you have when you're self-employed, you have to change the mirror. Right. And he has to change. And so I know I'm sounding defensive, but if anybody thinks they're looking at the same guy here at the Senior Bowl that was here 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they don't know how this works.
I know in the past you wanted a walk-around coach. You know, I remember you told Jason you took the pay card away from Jason. You're like, I want my coach to be a walk-around coach. I don't want him calling plays. Now you're going back to you want your head coach calling plays.
It's exactly my point. That was, in my mind, the right thing to do at the time, for Jason to take the focus as head coach, the focus on the offense, and walk around.
Right.
And we had a coaching staff that I thought and we all thought that would work with. This is a case of going in the other direction. That happens in all teams in the NFL, but because I own the team, as well as MGM, doesn't mean that we don't go different areas doing different things than we were 5-10 years ago. But we've got a team right now that our team, with the success we've had over the last 2 years, this is the logical step to build on it and use what we've established, or if you will, the foundation of the wins we've got. This is a time for us to build on it, and that's what this is. This is a building step.
Offensively, will you keep the same offense, or will you go back to what Mike used to run in Green Bay?
It will be, I'm sure, with added nuances of the times, but more importantly, the personnel. But it will be, in principle, the way he operated in Green Bay, which I'm sure he'll tell you evolved.
Right, a little bit more
And
West
so
Coast.
this will have evolved. You'll see some Kellen in this. You'll see some Linehan, I'm sure, but you're going to see a lot of other things that we haven't seen. That was appropriate when Mike first came in. This is really appropriate now. Dak can handle it, and a lot of times the changes are not what you're adding, it's what you're cutting back on. And all of this is a part of what I'm excited about in having Mike take over the offense. Now, it's going to mean less times that he can go out and look at a football player, or less times that he's back there in the draft room.
Right.
Because as we all know, that offensive coordinator is the busiest guy in town. But that's what we want, and that's what Mike wants, and is excited that he's expressed himself excited about this
Do
opportunity.
you expect to hire an offensive coordinator? You just said he's kind of the offensive coordinator.
Well, no, he will have assists if we add any one, and we probably will, but they will assist him in play calling and designing the offense.
You want a young guy at that role? Because I know you like to develop coaches sometimes.
Someone about my age. Yeah. One that's open to new ideas, but got a few of his own.
You mentioned
Yes,
two
sir.
head coaches, so you look at Quinn as the head coach of defense and Mike the head coach of offense.
Well, that's a good way to do it. I don't want to say that because Mike's the head coach, but we have a unique opportunity to get the very best here.
Right.
And I think that we have an outstanding Super Bowl winner in Mike that has got proven abilities as a play caller, as an offensive coordinator, which the two don't have to necessarily be the same. As you know, there's a lot of variations in who does what within the staff. But I'm confident that Mike can do any and everything this team needs. The team, as far as the players are concerned, really follow Mike. He's got a genuineness about him. He's got a personality that I think is really giving our players the best chance to be what they can be. And so I'm real impressed with how Mike has coached this team and the unity that he has among the players. And I'm looking forward to building on that.
You make 8 coaching changes. He takes over play calling. Is this a make or break year for Mike? Or I know he said you told him you want him to coach as long as Tom Landry. So how do we look at this?
Well, I admit that make or break year and coaching as long as Tom Landry, looking at the years he's coached here so far and looking at that many down the road, is confusing and inconsistent.
Right.
What it really means is I believe in him. I believe in what we can do here can last, and I believe in the advantage of new, doing some things that are different. I think this is a plus for Dak, and if it's a plus for Dak, it's a plus for all of us.
You still strong on Dak? I mean, do you have to make a decision on this contract, or do something this year, this off season, to get it under the cap right?
I'm still very strong, not still, I'm very strong on Dak.
Okay.
We have in my mind, a unique person, a unique football player, a unique quarterback. We've have had times in this past 3 years where we haven't had him, and I like the way that we've adjusted when we had to go without him. But I think there's this whole thing reflects the upside that I feel in Dak.
Okay.
The fact that we're doing this, Mike's calling the plays, this has everything to do with the positiveness around Dak. It's building around Dak.
Do you have to do something with his contract this year, this off season?
But I don't. We'll get into that. Those I don't talk about the nuances of what adjustments are made, but with the cap and those kinds of things, you always want to consider making room.
Can you speak of where things stand with Ezekiel Elliott? And I know that he's obviously under contract. Is there anything new that you can talk about with him?
Well, just that when you, as we will review even more the season, we're going to see the positives in Zeke. Zeke will look better the more you look at what he brought to the table as we get into reviewing what the season was. And so I don't want to talk about Zeke until we have had the benefit of really evaluating our whole season.
So
But I do know this without even looking at an evaluation. Zeke was a lot more incremental to the success that we had than his rushing yards indicate.
But you do want
I believe that.
You do want him back next year?
Would like to have him back next year. Yes.
You would like to have him
Yes,
back
would
next
like to have him back.
Financially, is that realistic considering you also have to take care of Tony Pollard?
Well, when we ask a question about whether financially something is realistic, any one thing is, any two things are. And I'm not trying to talk out of both sides of my mouth. But you can have anything you can do one time, or anything you can do 3 or 4 places. But all of that impacts what you can do in other places. So that's the way we'll not evaluate, but that's the way we'll make our decisions. And I'm really pleased with, frankly, how we have arrived at this point where we are in our flexibility on the cap. Nobody's ever happy necessarily with where they are in the cap. But we've got some key players that we pay a lot of money to. We need to have developed young coming players relative to their salaries, relative to their skill levels on the come. We've done that. One of the best things we've done is put young players on the field. And we're benefiting from it. We're benefiting from it in cap management, and we'll benefit from it in terms of as they have more years in the NFL. They'll be better players.
Did y'all make a mistake in how you handled the receiver position this year?
You could say that we probably had too much reliance on what Tolbert could do, because we were high on him coming out and thought he could immediately be a factor. We had thought that possibly we could have better results relative to Gallup as far as his rehab and where he is. So I could say that. The other parts of it, the elephant in the room that you're talking about, was when I look at the salary that was involved there, over $20 million a year, and I look at what we got with that salary to help this team, that we wouldn't have been able to have on this team had we kept it.
Okay.
I like what we did.
Okay. But that's a position though. As you look forward,
We need
to
Tolbert to come on as a young player to come on, and we need to keep looking. We need Lamb did everything and more that we hoped he would do. We need some guys when they're really covering him. We need some guys that have a better chance to get open, and we probably can do some things in the passing game that help Gallup get more involved. But no, I'm not, because I can't talk of it in isolation about what you did at receiver. Receiver freed $20 million that we used really effectively to have the team we had.
Do you go back at Odell Beckham as a free agency this year?
Again, I've gotten to know him well, and we'll be talking.
You'll be talking to him, okay?
Everyone's got a different plan of how they want to get to the Super Bowl. You saw what the Eagles did. The Rams got rid of all their picks. What is the Cowboys' plan to kind of get you what you need, another championship?
I'm reluctant, even though by nature I'm a wildcatter. Anybody that thinks I won't take a chance has misread the tea leaves, okay? But I do think longer term, and I'm real hesitant to bet it all for a year. And there's a lot of things that can happen for that year. In essence, we're seeing a couple of teams that have had some real success putting it all out there and paying for it later. In Philadelphia and really Los Angeles. Don't think that doesn't pop my head and get my eye as far as doing it, and I know how to do that. And it's a part of what you put in that computer and what comes out, and we'll see how it comes. But that's pretty impressive to have two teams in the last 2 years empty the bucket and get to the Super Bowl.
But you're drafting development.
But if you miss, it is a long go. On the other hand, my general experience has been that if you will stay aggressive, I'm talking about whether it's on the field or off the field, if you'll stay aggressive, but then pick your shots with risk-taking. And I've spent a lot of time in my life doing that. When they cut me open, it will be all those scars, heart attacks for all the risks I took and the years I spent paying for them. And so my point is that I do know how to take risk. They're absolutely right. We have been in the middle here for a few years. I like where we are right now, more in the middle. But given an opportunity, if it makes some sense, I've definitely got risk-taking in me. All you got to do is look around at everything else that we've got our fingers in, and you see I will take some risk.
How do you get fans excited and continue to be excited about next season? How do you get fans excited about next season? What do you tell them? What excites you about this team? Can you finally get over the hump?
Oh, I think, first of all, dwell on the fact that we have won 24, 25 football games over the last 2 seasons. Dwell on the fact that we've been one of the leading winning teams. Dwell on the fact that we've had some of the best personnel in the National Football League. Dwell on the fact that you have Dak.
Right.
I like that. Dwell on the fact that you have Dak. Seriously, focus on that. Focus on a Dak being better. He's right. He will be better at turnovers. Focus on that, and focus on a coach that's come in here and in 3 years and what we're trying to do has had the results that we've had. I understand why when you look back and saying, well, San Francisco and Cowboys haven't been to a Super Bowl in 25 years, okay? And hadn't won a Super Bowl in 25 years. I understand that. San Francisco's in the same boat. But my point is that has not been the same for 25 years. There's been many different things done over 25 years, the same way there would have been had you changed out general managers, or the same way that you do if you changed out owners. I have to change in my mirror. I emphasize that, and because that's what I'm saying to our fans. I like the incentive that we have to win. We push a lot out there. It's contrary to some things. It is critical that we win, and we work to win, and we've won a lot of football games. And but it's important to win a Super Bowl. I get to go back and I can look and see how close we've been on about 4 or 5 different occasions over the last several years to have actually stepped out there and been on the field. I see how close it is that we're not out there this weekend. It's close. And so we've got to our fans, we've got the substance, we've got the players, we're going to add more players, we've got the coaches. We're in for a great run of a combination of that for next year.
You talked about looking in the mirror yourself. Does your quarterback have to look in the mirror himself a little bit too and also say, I got to change up how I do things, I need some different voices?
I'm not going to speak for him, but I don't know of anybody that probably looks in the mirror more than Dak and is into correcting self-improvement. That's what he's about. That's the outstanding quality. He takes what he gets. He takes all he can get from whether it was Kellen or whether it's Mike or whoever. He takes all he gets from his coaching, puts it on the practice field, and he goes out there. And he does and is very open to doing it better, which doesn't necessarily mean different, but doing it better and can mean different.
Expect Tyron Smith back next year.
Right now, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, would he play right tackle? I mean, is Terrence still will he be ready to start the season?
Well, I'm looking forward to Terrence. Terrence has evolved into a really important part of our future, and so that's one of the pluses that we ought to look at. We've with a veteran like Tyron, veteran like Peters, we've got some ways to have our cake and eat it too with some experience, and yet we've got some young players that are going to play more and get more play time.
So you expect
I like where we're going into our offensive line this year better than I did any time in the last several years.
So you expect Peters to come back again?
Yes.
Tony Pollard's injury, would that affect free agency? I mean, you're able to negotiate a contract, him coming off that surgery?
Yeah. I don't know about that. It certainly has not, the surgery has not been a premier thought of mine as to looking ahead to the future. And I certainly see Tony in the future.
You have a lot of defensive free agents. When Dan Quinn came back, are you excited about the fact that these guys love to play for him? It might help you re-sign and retain some of those guys.
I'm very excited about that. His combination of scheme, skill level there, and the way he gets individuals to buy into what he wants them to do, that close-in aspect to it is really impressive. And candidly, I'm anxious to see when Mike gets to do the same thing over on offense and get to see the more direct benefits of that.
We think Tom Brady is retiring for good now. Can you just talk about not only his career, but how good it feels to finally get that win there in the playoffs on him?
You said it right. Get that win. When one time after my first year, Jimmy Johnson and someone asked me, well, what about your first year? And I put a ball up there that Herschel Walker had signed, and I said, this is our win. And the guy starts laughing, and he said, I don't know of anybody that's excited as you are over a win. That's all we had was a win on that. So, I'm excited about, I forgot the question.
It was Tom Brady.
On Brady, I'm sorry. Yes, you're absolutely right. I'm proud of that win. I'm going to hold that Tampa Bay win up just like I did that Herschel Walker ball when we won one game the first year, and that was my prize. So we're proud of that win. He has been outstanding.